Hello, it's Steve Lindsley. Welcome back to my shop. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a few pieces of bloodwood, some mesquite, and a couple of pieces of maple, and turn them into this segmented vessel. In the video, I kept calling it a bowl. It's not really a bowl. To me, a bowl should have an opening big enough that you could actually get something in and out of it. And obviously, this is not very good for that. So I suppose it could be a pot, or it could be a jug, or it could be whatever, but I'm just going to call it a segmented turning, I think. Overall, there's 241 pieces, counting a little plug on the bottom. It was a lot of fun to make. I'm going to break this up into probably 3 videos. The first video, I'm going to show you how I made this feature ring, which is just a basic zigzag pattern of maple and bloodwood. Came out pretty nice. It's fairly simple to do. So first video, I'm going to show you how to do that, and then in the next 2 videos I'll show you how I made the rest of the bowl to go with the feature ring. And it's always good to start with a feature ring, that way you can kind of judge the size of the bowl after you make the ring, because it don't, like most planned things, it don't always come out exactly the way you plan it. So we're going to go ahead and show the feature ring. I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you actually stay tuned and watch the other 2 videos that go along with it. Thank you, and enjoy the video. All right, the first thing we're going to do in this segmented bowl we're going to build is make the feature ring. I've taken some bloodwood and glued it up between 2 pieces of maple. I actually split the maple and I glued the bloodwood in between. It's about just a little over 3/4 of an inch thick. I would have liked it to have been thicker, but my bloodwood board had a pretty bad twist in it when I was running it through the joiner to, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's pretty twisted. So when I run it through the joiner, I lost some of the thickness of the bloodwood board. So I was limited in the thickness of the feature ring piece by the thickness of the bloodwood insert. We're going to make a zigzag pattern for our outside of our bowl. For the rest of the bowl, I'm going to have some bloodwood accents, but I'm going to use this piece of, if you probably can't see it too good, it's a piece of mesquite. I ordered some mesquite from a place in Texas, and it's a nice brown wood, and since this is a southwestern style bowl, I thought it'd be a nice idea to use a southwestern wood. So that's what we're going to do. So the next thing we're going to do is cut these up on the chop saw, figure out what angle we want to use, and then make our pieces for our segmented ring. So once I get that done, we'll come back and I'll show you that. Okay, I've taken my 2 boards over to the chop saw, and I've cut them into pieces here, so you can see they're sliced up into parallel pieces. The top dimension there is about 1 inch and 3/4. That's that part right there. First, I started off with a 45-degree angle, a 40-degree angle, but that made my zig and my zag a little taller than I wanted it to be. So I went ahead and I changed the saw setting to a 30-degree angle, and then what happens is when you flip one of the pieces over, you get the zigzag pattern that we want. This is about 3 inches wide. The zigzag pattern, I wanted the feature ring to be about 1.25 inches tall. It's going to be a little bit taller than that, but it's not going to make no much difference. So that's why you make the feature ring first, and then we can just kind of fit the rest of the bowl to match that piece. So I have some sanding to do on these. I have a bunch of fuzzies along the edges. I need to knock those off. I need to check the fit of the pieces as I glue them together, and if there's any areas that needed to be touched up, I'll do that over at a sander or whatever, and get those all lined up. And then we'll glue them into pairs. And then what we do is I'll show it when we come back, but we glue them into pairs, matching up our angle there, and then we'll trim off the bottom and trim off the top to the width we want, and we'll turn that into a rectangle. Then we'll have our part that we that we want for our segmented bow. So once I get these things glued together and start to trim them up, I'll show you that, and we'll be on our way. Well, we're moving ahead with our feature ring project. This is a test piece that I had from, from the 40-degree angle. It's one that I'm not going to use because I changed the angle to 30 degrees. But this is what all these look like when I started. They look like that as they were glued together. What I did was I stuck them to this piece of MDF, which was a little bit wider. I stuck them with some double stick tape, and then I run it through the saw one side and cut off like this cut off the bottom piece, and then I run through the other side and I cut off the top points. So what it gives me pieces like this, which is what we're after, form them into a rectangle. What I do then is take and we'll stand these up and run them through the sled or the chop saw. I'm not quite sure which one yet. And we'll cut an angle on this piece like right here, based on 10 segments. And then we'll glue that together into a feature ring. I got plenty of maple above and below the points. Once I get it all glued together, I'll go ahead and turn that down to I don't know, maybe a quarter an inch or so above the point and below the points, so that it looks a little bit better and narrows down the feature ring a little bit. It's a little bit too wide for the bow that we're going to make at the moment. So that's where we are with that. Okay, now we're down to the nerve-wracking part. What we have to do is we have to take our pieces that we've cut for our feature ring, and we have to cut an 18-degree angle on the edge of each one, and we want it to angle to terminate right at the front corner. I've gone through and found the best side and marked them with the front, so I know which side to cut. I decided to do it with my table saw sled. The problem, the concern I have, I'm sure I can do it, but my thing I wanted to make sure of was that I cut right to the edge of the front piece, so you can't see it, but this fence here has been trimmed by the blade, and if I line that piece up exactly with that corner up exactly with the angle on the fence, I should get what I want. I thought about clamping a stop block on the back here, so I could get them all at the same position. However, there might be some fractional difference in the width of some of the pieces, so that might throw me off a little bit. So I decided not to do that. Instead, what I did was I made a little pencil mark on this corner down here, so I can try and line each piece up and verify that it's at that corner right there. So I'm not going to use a stop block. I thought about moving my stop up against the piece there, but the problem with that is as soon as this piece is cut off, the blade's going to wing it out of there and it's going to be a mess. So I decided not to do that. The other concern I have is the blade has to be so high to cut this piece off that it always makes me nervous when the blade's that far above the table. I do have it clamped where I want it without too much pressure, but I got it held there fairly securely. So what I plan on doing is just taking and standing out of the way, of course, and pushing this through the saw. I could do that on the miter saw, but I've been cutting this is a 10-segment ring, and I've been cutting all my 10-segment rings with this setup, and they've been dead perfect. So this one should be as well. Since there's 10 segments, 360 divided by 10 is 36 degrees, which means we need 18-degree cuts on each side here, so that when we put the two 18-degree angles together, that they'll come out to 36 degrees, and we'll wind up with a circle and a feature ring. So makes me a little bit nervous, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, we're as ready as we'll ever be. We checked and double checked our setup, so This piece is firmly secured, so let's go ahead and turn the saw on and see what happens. Well, I don't like that when that saw's up that far off the... All right. We got a little bit of chip out in the corner right there, but that's all right because this part here is thicker than we need it to be, so we can trim that off. So we got a nice cut there now, and to cut the other side, we need to keep the face against the thing. So what we need to do is flip it over and cut the other side and see if we can get it to come out as well as this one appears to have come out. So let's see what we can do with that. All right, I got it lined up with my lines there. Go ahead and put a little clamp pressure on it with the clamps all the way down. We only get one shot at this, so we want to make sure that it's right the first go around. So, and that feels pretty good. All right, let's turn this on and see what we can do. The piece is securely held there. Once the blade stops, we can reach in here. All right, there's our, let's say we got a little chip out on this side too, which is fine because that piece is taller than it needs to be. So there's our two angles cut, 18 degrees on each side. I'll go ahead and cut the rest of them, and then we can glue this into a feature ring. Okay, well here's our feature ring. It didn't come out, it came out close. I got a couple of things I need to touch up on, and I noticed on the inside some of the joints don't fit as tightly as I'd like them to, but overall, considering the setup that we were using, I think it came out pretty well. I just have a bang clamp together. I'll probably go ahead and use the half ring method to glue it together and then join the two halves together then once I true them up a little bit. So overall it came out pretty well, and I'm happy with that. So we'll show it once we get it all glued up. Okay, I have the feature ring mounted on our lathe, on the lathe here, so I'm having a hard time finding a good camera angle, but what we're going to do is I want to trim off this outside corner right here and make it somewhat round. It doesn't need to be perfectly round at this point, but it needs to be. I want it to start turning off some of those points. The other thing I need to do is I'll move the camera, but it's too thick. Let's see, not sure how it's too thick above the point. I only want maybe 1/4 of an inch or whatever. So once I get the corners knocked off, I'll move the camera around, and basically what we're going to do is shrink this side up so that it gets closer to the points of the zigzag. So let's turn it on and see what happens. We're probably going to use a bowl gouge to see to knock off some of the corners, and then we'll see how we're doing at that point. So let's go ahead and stand out of the way and turn it on. Make sure we're not hitting on anything. We're not. Get a little bit better alignment on our tool rests, and here we go. Alright, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Alright. Let's see if we can knock some of these off here. let's see how we're doing. Well, there's some spots where it's starting to be pretty round. There's a couple of others where it's still needs to be worked on. So you get the general idea for now of what we're trying to accomplish. So we're going to go ahead and shut the camera off, and I'll finish working on this, and then we'll come back once we start to do some more work on it. Alright, I've been spending a few minutes trying to figure out exactly how wide I want this feature ring to be. What I decided to do was go 1/4 of an inch above the top point and 1/4 of an inch or so below the lower points, and that would give me a ring that's about 1 5/8. When I originally designed it out, I had it 1 1/2, which means I would need to come down a little bit on each side. I need to take a 1/8 of an inch off, so I need to come down a 1/16 on each side if I want it to be 1 1/2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this top piece down to the 1 1/4 inch, or I mean the 1/4 inch mark, and then we'll kind of look at it and see how it looks and kind of go from there. So let me spin this around. To do this, I'll probably take a bowl gouge first, and then after that I'll probably use a scraper to clean that up down to the line. So alright, let's see, let's get going here. Let's stand back a little bit. Alright, that's a little hot. Off the high spots. I'm going to switch to this scraper here. Take it down the line. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with that. Next thing I need to do is hit that with my sanding board and clean that up. But if I do that now, the lens and the camera will be covered with dust. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it off, and we'll take care of that. Well, here's our feature ring. It's done as we can have it for now. It's still glued to the 1/2 inch plywood on the bottom. We'll cut that off after we glue it to the bloodwood ring above it. We got this top all fleshed up. We got the distance set where we want it. We got it turned for the most part round. It's got a couple of little flat spots in it, but for the most part it's pretty much finished up. So we're going to go ahead and make the rest of the bowl, and we'll glue this ring into it and see what we can come up with. Alright, well that's how I made the feature ring to go in our segmented turning. It was a lot of fun to make. It was fairly, it's a little zigzag pattern, but it's fairly simple. So I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope you stay tuned for the remaining videos.